Hello, everyone. Captain Troy Handsome of International Rescue. Please state the nature of your emergency. We are here with Cleric 2024 5th edition for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm very excited because Cleric is my favorite class. I've been saving this one for, well, a rainy day such as today. Well, it's not actually raining outside, but this is what the video starts like. We're going to react to the video real quick. You all are, I hope you can sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's watch this together.
Hello everyone, today we are talking about clerics. You know, those folks that keep you alive, playing new things in all the classes.
Okay, so I have to pause this real quick. Though that keep you alive, I need to just start this video right here. I'm gonna be salty. I'm just gonna advance to warn you all in advance. You don't need a healer. A healer is not required for Dungeons and Dragons. And first of all, if you're looking for a healer, you don't have to automatically default to a cleric. If I didn't know who these people were already, I would not be counting their opinions very highly, weighing them very heavily. My Tempest cleric specifically had 0 healing spells. Clerics, especially the ones who have access to heavy armor proficiency, clerics can be very deadly, and they don't have to be relegated to healers. Druids and bards are capable of healing just as much. Sure, not counting a life cleric or anything like that. This is one of my pet peeves. Just like people ragging on Ash for not winning competitions, championships, and what else is there? People calling macarons macaroons. Look it up if you don't know the difference. Just clerics, you don't stop. This is already not a good look, but let's keep going.
In the subclasses, that is also true for clerics.
One of the things that we wanted to make sure we did with the cleric,
yes, and he did win eventually,
which is also a very popular class, is, as we've done with all of the classes, protect their core identity while looking for
except for
ways
Ranger.
to
I'm just going to say
amp
that
up the
right
fun,
now.
Particularly for clerics and others.
A conversation for another time.
Focus sometimes on healing.
Well, the new player's
although,
handbook
of course,
is nice.
Many of us have played clerics who are all about smiting or something other than healing, but we wanted to make sure that anyone who is focusing on healing in the game really could feel good about it. And that's why we talked in our video about spells, about the buffs to many of the game's healing spells, and so clerics in particular are going to really feel.
Okay, it does sound like there'll be more of an emphasis on increasing the potency of healing, because it does feel like healing is sometimes the wrong thing to do. Sometimes the best healing you can do is making sure the enemies are dead, as per you see here. Best healing, the enemy's all KO'd.
Now, when it comes to the class itself, right away at first level, people are going to get a brand new feature called Divine Order.
Ooh,
both the Druid and the Cleric now have this feature at first level that allows them to decide if they want to go more in the spellcasting direction or lean a little bit more into the armor and weapon direction. Now, Clerics and Druids both have, at the baseline, sort of decent weapon and armor capability.
Give me just a sec.
Armor and weapon direction. Now, Clerics and Druids both have, at the baseline, sort of decent weapon and armor capability and are very solid spellcasters. So
absolutely, there's a reason why I have so many Druids and Clerics.
Of emphasis or of spice. Whichever one you choose, you're still going to have, again, decent armor and weapons as well as very formidable spellcasting. If you decide to go in Divine Order with the new Protector option, it means right at first level you're going to start with proficiency
this person looks really cool.
Martial weapons and heavy armor. This is how you can make the classic first edition cleric decked out in heavy armor and wielding a mace. But we've also acknowledged that over the decades, many clerics have instead leaned more in a kind of robe-wearing, divine magic wielding aesthetic direction. And so the Thaumaturge option supports that aesthetic by giving you an extra cantrip and also making it so that, and again, this is similar to what we did in the Druid, buffing some of your ability checks with a bonus equal to your wisdom modifier. And in the case of the cleric, the ability checks that get buffed are your intelligence, arcana, and religion checks.
Okay, I actually do want to. I normally save this for later, but I don't want to see what they're talking about. So, at level 1, you get to select one of 2 sacred roles. This is what's new for 2024 Cleric. You can either be a protector, or you can gain an extra cantrip, which is very nice, and add your wisdom modifier to intelligence checks such as Arcana or Religion. So, if you want to be a little bit more sword and board, this is how you can go. But if you're like me, I would love an extra cantrip. Cantrips are actually, spellcasters' bread and butter. Let's keep going here.
Making it so that the thaumaturge, even if their intelligence isn't super high, can tap into their divine magic to give them a sense of information about either general magic in the form of arcana or about religion.
I like that because it kind of doesn't punish you for having a high wisdom because, as a cleric, you'll want to have high wisdom. But then because these checks, especially Arcana, is intelligence based, this is nice. I am not going to get into the fact that you've got, you kind of have different kinds of magic. There's like arcane magic, divine magic. What's the third one? I'm blanking on the third one. So I'm just going to ignore that for now. More numbers, sure. That's fine, especially for the new people.
Now, in spellcasting, which is also at first level, there is an important change there where now clerics, every time they level up, can swap out one of their cantrips. Now you can say, oh, okay, I'm not using this cantrip as much as I thought. And so
that is very nice. Obviously,
level,
I'm a-okay with my players asking me, like, hey, I don't use this cantrip. But to be actually indoctrinated into the rules is nice.
Still includes the option to
That's
turn undead, which again goes all the way back to first edition of clerics channeling their divine might to drive back the forces of undeath.
They should leave those undead alone. It's not fair.
That's right. Leave the hot vampires for us.
Added a brand new channel divinity
Lux, what's your favorite
option
class?
for all clerics called Divine Spark, and this is a really fun
Sounds really cool.
channel divinity option where the cleric
that sounds familiar.
decides if they're going to channel this raw divine power either to harm someone or help them. So you can either deal damage with it or heal somebody
or
with
abjure.
it. And we did this because
Did I pronounce that
looking
correctly?
over not only the subclasses for the cleric in this book, but as well as the other subclasses that have come out for the cleric over the years, clerics, depending on subclass choice, have had sort of varying use for their channel divinity. Like if you are in a campaign with few or no undead, turn undead does you no good.
Yeah.
And then some subclasses have channel divinity options that are useful every session, and then other subclasses have channel divinity options that are useful less frequently.
So I just want to jump ahead real. Divine Spark, another way for clerics to use channel divinity, which is very nice. Having this universal option for, like he's basically saying, the use cases might be few and far between for some of them. Oh, and clerics get one more use of channel divinity. Very nice. 2 at 2, 3 at 6. Not to spoil what he's about to say.
With that reality in mind, we created Divine Spark to give every cleric, regardless of subclass, a channel divinity option that is likely to be useful in every single session.
Well, that's nice.
Because pretty much every session, at least one point, you're going to want to deal damage or heal somebody. Unless you're having a very peaceful shopping montage session, right?
That's fair.
Unless, the cleric discovers that the shopkeep is undead and they need to drive them away with Turn Undead. Now, that classic option, Turn Undead, it itself has been redesigned. As much as we enjoy the
we got a combat wheelchair,
Turn
very
Undead
nice.
of the undead who are affected scampering far away, we wanted this to be a bit less disruptive.
Well, I like the guy
for
who's fighting
cleric
with the sword
because
and
it is
the
often
scabbard
not
for it.
useful for the cleric, for the undead to now be half a mile away when it runs out.
Right, and spread around the map, yeah.
Exactly. So Turn Undead still, if it affects an undead creature, it still shuts them down in terms of, being able to do much of use for them. but no longer has them scrambling from, here to the next town.
Okay. I thought they would talk about the changes because it's kind of new.
We found that not only in the Unearthed Arcana process, but also in our own playtests, that this new version of Turn Undead is a lot of fun.
And this is like a debuff or damage or?
So what it does now is the undead creature is incapacitated and frightened for 1 minute. And it
incapacitated.
does try to move as far as it
Which
can
means advantage
from
on
you
certain
its
attacks against it.
turns,
Very nice.
but it's no longer dashing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah, that felt
and
so mechanically
It also is
counterintuitive.
clearer
Very
with
nice.
the rest of the system how it's behaving because it has now the incapacitated condition as well as the frightened condition. And those two things were implied before, and now it's explicit.
Okay.
The new
that's
version
nice.
of Turn Undead is then buffed later at level 5 by another new feature called Seer Undead. And
that sounds
with
epic.
this
I love searing my
feature,
enemies.
You now have the option, when you use Turn Undead,
And stakes.
to blast the undead creatures that
Anyways, I
you're
just started
turning
blasting.
with radiant energy and deal
nice.
damage to them. This is a way for you to have your Turn Undead
It's nice because
have an offensive capability without
makes it useful.
requiring the undead to hit a particular challenge rating threshold.
Challenge
to be
rating. Sorry, I
destroyed
said
by your
combat
Turn
rating.
Undead.
Yes, see,
So the
that's
2014
nice.
version of Turn Undead, when you got to higher level, would just simply destroy certain undead creatures. And what we found is the problem with that is it was this very kind of all or nothing thing. And then that also meant that you gained no benefit against creatures that were not within that very specific challenge rating range. We replaced that primarily because we wanted to give you a buff that you were happy to have no matter what the CR was of the undead creature. And so now you have this ability to, like, you don't have to worry about what the CR is. Once you have it, you have the option of blasting it with radiant damage. And the advantage of this new feature is eventually this radiant damage will get high enough that you will still pretty much automatically destroy very low CR undead.
Yeah.
So you will often,
like this.
particularly if you have
That's nice.
lucky damage rolls for the radiant damage, still incinerate the undead that you're turning. But even when you don't do that, you're still going to be able to pump out some radiant damage, even against that high CR lich.
Yeah, perfect. Makes sense.
Now at level 7 in the Cleric, we also have a new feature called Blessed
Ooh,
Strikes.
Slay Queen.
And Blessed Strikes is a replacement for two different features that appeared previously in subclasses. Cleric subclasses in the past tended to have either a feature called Divine Strike or one called Potent Spellcasting. Divine Strike pushed the cleric toward weapon use, and Potent Spellcasting, it's in the name, buffed the cleric spellcasting, specifically the cleric's cantrips. And because we now let you at first level decide which of those directions you want to lean in, we wanted you to then, following on from that, get to make a choice between Divine Strike and Potent Spellcasting at level 7, rather than automatically giving you one of those as part of a particular subclass. And we found that doing it the old way,
I forgot what it's called, this
kind of
spell.
pigeonholed
I've used
certain
this like once.
subclasses in ways that wasn't always how the players wanted to play that subclass. You know, we might have decided that a particular subclass got Divine Strike rather than Potent Spellcasting, but the player who chose that subclass might decide, but I'm not interested in wearing armor and being in melee. I want to actually hang back, and would really have.
But it's how I felt
enjoyed
about like the
Potent Spellcasting
Tempest
instead.
Cleric's heavy
So
armor
with that in
proficiency.
mind, we've put the power in the player's hands to decide which of those directions that you go in. We also, this is a case where we have a note in the feature itself that if you happen to take the new version of the Cleric but wed it to a subclass from an older book, you do not get both the potent spellcasting or divine strike from the subclass as well as whatever you choose from the base class. You just get one.
Perfect.
And that's explained right here in the cleric itself.
Okay.
Now, when we get to level 10, we have a new version of
Sorry.
divine
Before we get to level 10, let's go and look at the changes that we've talked about right here. So first of all, at level 3, the life domain cleric gets aid, and they've made small tweaks to Disciple of Life and Preserve Life, which I can look at in more detail down the line. Light domain, one of my personal favorites, has now See Invisibility, which I like conceptually. Warding Flare, which basically lets you impose disadvantage on an attacker, and Improved Warding Flare are better at protecting your allies. And Crown of Light makes it harder for your enemies to resist your Radiance of Dawn and spells that deal radiant or fire damage. It does feel bad when you put everything into something that the enemies resist anyway. I love how that Tiefling cleric looks. Let me take a look at this real quick. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. What the heck? Oh my gosh. Hello. I'm Troy. Anyway. Trickery domain, for those of you who like Jester from Critical Role, you can now use the Blessing of the Trickster on yourself. Invoke Duplicity is easier to use in combat, and Improved Duplicity now grants advantage on your and your allies' attacks and can heal when it ends. Plus, there have been significant spell list changes. And last but not least, War Domain, the Channel Divinity can be used to cast Shield of Faith or Spiritual Weapon without using a spell slot or requiring concentration. As a reminder, Spiritual Weapon lasts a minute and does not require concentration. So the fact that you can do, and Shield of Faith, it kind of feels rough because the +2 AC is nice, but the fact that it requires concentration is a little rough. But this is very nice. There have also been some spell list changes. War Priest allows you to make an unarmed strike as a bonus action and recharges after either a short or long rest. Very nice. All right, he's talking about 10, so let's talk to 5 and 7. Seer Undead replaces Destroy Undead, deals radiant damage to every undead, regardless of CR, that fails your saving throw against your turn undead. Is this a save or suck situation like cantrips are? I'll have to check the book. Because it does kind of feel bad, especially because it is your turn undead. I feel like it fails. I guess we'll see. And then Blessed Strikes. So if you can choose either Divine Strike to deal extra radiant or necrotic damage when you hit a creature with an attack roll, which is very nice because that applies to spells, or martial. Potent Spellcasting, or like physical. Add your Wisdom modifier to damage dealt with a Cleric cantrip. Once again, kind of bringing it on par with Warlocks, who often have the ability to add the Charisma modifier to the attacks they primarily use, which, sneak peek for the Warlock video, you can now apply the Eldritch Blast related Eldritch invocations to a different Warlock cantrip of your choice. But again, this is a video about clerics, so enough about that. So this is nice. And he's talking about level 10 now when Divine Intervention comes into play. Let's get going.
Now, previously, Divine Intervention was a style of game design that I sometimes refer to as Mother May I game design, where the player basically had to ask the DM's permission for something to happen. And also, this was locked behind a die roll that would determine whether or not your feature even did anything. So our goal with the new Divine Intervention is we wanted to give the cleric certainty that their class feature would actually do something. And so in the new design, you just simply use it, and you choose any cleric spell of level 5 or lower that doesn't require a reaction to cast, and you cast it. It's that simple.
Oh, this is cute.
And then you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So what this means is once you reach level 10, you as a cleric, regardless of what cleric spells you have prepared, have in your back pocket the ability to pick any cleric spell of 5th level or lower and decide, I'm casting.
Oh my gosh. I am literally running a Tempest cleric who did not have Absorb Elements prepared. She instantly died to detonating a depth charge in a merchant camp. And if she had Absorb Elements, which was a cleric spell she did not have prepared, and imagine Divine Intervention. Imagine how this would play out. She prays to her god Talos and says, like, you know, as she sees her life or lack thereof flash before her eyes, to say, please just grant me the ability to absorb half this damage. Please imbue this power into my hand, which already is suffering effects of her casting lightning magic all the time. There's a ring of electricity on her wrist that shoots up her arm farther and farther each time she casts lightning magic. If it hits her heart, her neck, who knows what will happen. Just imagine her being able to absorb elements into her spell list.
So it still serves the function that Divine Intervention had before, which is sort of fishing for a divine get-out-of-jail-free card.
That's what she wanted.
And I think the feedback we got on this was very positive. And what's also really nice about it is when you cast the spell, you don't expend a spell slot, and you do not need material components.
Yeah.
This means, yes,
the gold-related ones.
Raise Dead, which is a 5th level spell, and cast it, calling on Divine Intervention to raise someone from death. And we designed this very specifically to make, which is a 5th level.
I'll keep this on here for you for a bit. But yeah, it looks like he's invoking the power of Divine Intervention, perhaps using Raise Dead.
Calling on Divine Intervention to raise someone from death. And we designed this very specifically to make that happen, because what else feels like Divine Intervention
all mortal
than
wounds.
Bringing back somebody from the dead?
You are going to ruin the diamond economy, indeed.
Okay.
All these
An apt
NPCs that sell
observation.
diamonds are just...
in all of their shops outside all the temples in D&D cities.
Yes, yeah. Exactly 500 gold piece worth of diamond.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, at level 14, we improve Blessed Strikes, and so whichever option you chose earlier at level 7, Divine Strike or Potent Spellcasting, it gets even better. And then finally, at level 20, we have Greater Divine Intervention, which now lets you choose the Wish spell. And the Wish spell, as the Divine Intervention that you're reaching out for, and gives you all of the magical flexibility that Wish gives a spellcaster. And the Wish spell has been expanded in the spell chapter. It has several new built-in options.
That's nice for people like me who can't possibly consider what I would want to wish for. You know what I mean?
The monkey's paw effect.
The fatigue that Wish can impose upon a person.
Oh yeah, speak of the devil.
And it also has further guidance in the spell of what happens to you if you try to mess with gods, or even worse, with the Lady of Pain.
Yeah.
Let me hop over here real quick. Let's look at the differences. So again, Divine Intervention, you can choose any cleric spell of 5 or lower that doesn't require... Okay, never mind. I rescind that previous story that I told. That's I'm kind of heartbroken now, but whatever. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Doesn't require reaction. That's okay. What is my cry thing on here? Is it F4? It is. That's okay. We get OB winners. All right, you can cast without needing material components, which is nice. You don't have to spend the diamonds or expending a spell slot. Restores after a long rest. Very nice. Improved Blessed Strikes, the 2d8, again on magic spell attacks or non-magical attacks, you know. And then Potent Spellcasting, you can grant yourself or another temporary hit points when you deal damage with the Cleric cantrip. So as long as you deal some damage, you can get temporary hit points, which last a while. And this means every turn, oh my gosh. If temporary hit points stacked, Twilight Cleric, oh boy. Watch, they're going to tell me that temporary hit points stack now, but I can't imagine that happening. Ooh. Oh, and after you use this way, you cannot use Divine Intervention again for 2d4 days. Similar to the other effects that Wish traditional, like, you know, people with more traditional castings of Wish do suffer debilitating effects. And this is like, you know, hey, you're kind of casting Wish in a more easily obtained way. Well, here's a little bit more of a bonus to the debilitation that you will undergo. And Epic Wounds are just nice. Honestly, I've been meaning to take Pathfinder's There was something that they get at higher levels I was meaning to inject into my campaigns.
Like our other dedicated spellcasting classes, the spell list has been expanded, not only because of new spells that are in the book, like Summon Celestial, but also
well, that is nice, because Summon
spells that were
Celestial was just
already in the
basically
game in
summon
2014
that noodle creature.
that clerics now have
what it's
access
called.
to. And our cleric subclasses definitely also then get to make use of the bolstered spell selection because of their domain spells.
Oh, sorry, I'm mixing
shall
up
we dive into the
Conjure.
life domain.
Yeah, let's get into the life domain. This is kind of the classic cleric.
The life domain cleric is meant to be the preeminent healer in the game. I often like to tell people that if they really love playing a healer and they like the aesthetic of the cleric, the life domain is fantastic. You really cannot go wrong choosing this if you want to be a character who's all about helping other people. We took the really excellent features in this subclass and we fine-tuned them, altering some of the spell selection in the domain spell list so that the life domain cleric would be even more on theme in terms of their healing prowess. And we've even done subtle tweaks that people might not notice immediately, like for instance, Preserve Life now actually works on undead and constructs.
Oh, fantastic.
The fact that a number of healing spells did not work on undead and constructs actually created a number of design headaches for benevolent undead or constructs that might be in a player's group, either because they summoned them or they became undead but are still, heroic,
it was a little annoying to not be able to heal allies. Yeah. Obviously, we had workarounds as
the
DMs.
Reborn lineage at the time.
Exactly.
Just want to peek if they have, the class features overview. That's for all of them. Let's see if they have light specifically down here. They do not, but we'll look over this specifically after the video.
And so people will notice that not just in Preserve Life, but many places in the player's handbook where before certain healing effects didn't work on undead and constructs, that has largely been removed. And instead, when the monster manual comes out, people will find that certain monsters, particularly monsters that are made of like shadow stuff from the negative energy plane, we are exploring it being a feature of the monster themselves. It isn't even that they can't be healed, it's that they're actually harmed by healing.
People sometimes, like Maple Story rules.
That actually is allowing us to bring back some flavor that has existed in earlier editions of healers being able to turn their healing spells on certain kind of fell creatures. But for that, people will have to wait for the new monster manual.
That's awesome, though. That's a great change.
But in the meantime, you will also be able to restore life to, say, because again, I know you as the ever lover of warlocks.
Yes.
If the warlock has a skeleton in the group, the cleric can now heal their friend's skeleton.
I will laugh. That is perfect.
Okay, we're going to take this moment to take a break from the recording. I will see you recording people in the future in just a moment.
That brings us to the light domain, another popular subclass.
One of my personal
favorites.
favorites.
The light domain has had quite a bit of revision within it. Part of that was based on us wanting to make it a little less one note and being all about fire, 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 fire.
We got a lot of fire spells.
Partly because the light domain has always been meant to represent
you should have seen the look on my face when I realized my light cleric got access to fireball.
Which fire is certainly a fun expression of that.
Right.
But it's not the fire domain.
Yes, it's not the fire domain.
And so we've preserved some of the, tasty, fiery bits. So
tasty fire bits. It sounds like we're talking about barbecue. Burnt ends, yeah.
But we wanted to also bring in some spells in the domain list that are about vision, about
Yes, that's why I like the addition of see invisibility to the domain spells that I peeked ahead at.
Here, that are about
Oh, this was the light
wiping
cleric.
away
Nice.
falsehood, that sort of thing. And so that's why you'll see things here like scrying and see invisibility, that sort of thing. Arcane eye, these are here. We also made it so that the level 3 warding flare feature
Yes,
is
impose disadvantage.
usable right away, whether you're the person being targeted or somebody else. It used to
Fantastic.
be you had to wait to a
Exactly.
higher
You
level
have to wait till for the improved
to
version.
have the I help my friend version of it. You now get that right away. Then
Excellent.
later at level 6, when you get improved
Oh, the
warding
older lady
flare,
was a light cleric?
when you
Excellent.
use warding flare to protect somebody, you now also can give them
Love that crown
temporary
on her
hit
head.
points. And
Yes, the
you
temporary
also
hit
now
points. Like I said
regain all
earlier,
uses of
if
warding
Twilight
flare
Cleric hit
whenever
points
you
could
finish
stack
your
on that.
short or
Oh.
long rest.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh.
So the light domain cleric is going to be able to use their signature ability, warding flare, more often.
Oh, let's
and
go.
it's even
This
more
is the dream
potent
right
than
here.
it was before. We've also taken a look at Corona of Light, and we've now made it so that it imposes disadvantage on saving throws against your Radiance of the Dawn, in addition to any spells that deal fire or radiant damage. We wanted there to be more internal synergy here, because we didn't want it to just benefit your spells, but then you have your channel divinity option to just emit a whole bunch of light and have it not benefit. So this also is a theme you and I have returned to in these videos of more synergy, more feeling like you can combine your abilities with your friends' abilities, but also, very importantly, combine your own abilities with each other in new ways. And I'm excited to see how people combine things that we haven't even imagined yet.
Yeah, that is. I'm doing a lot of like combing through this book already and trying to come up with different combinations. That's part of the fun.
Okay, before we hop into trickery, Reese, let me know if you're ready. I just want to show off my light cleric for a bit. Well, she's Stars Druid / light cleric. So here she is, in front of a tree, because we love us a good moonbeam, right? Here's a moonbeam direct from the heavens. Up here. Oh, here's her again by Choco Jax. I love this one. Yeah, and this one is her again by Smovs. This dress specifically is by Grasu, Gracu. Easy to find on Twitter and Blue Sky. But I adore this one. Like, this one turned out so wonderfully, and this one is so cute. It's also in that outfit. And she has to keep the hat. Let me see. You can see the hat here has like the glasses on. It's so she can read spicy fanfic with. But yeah, we will go ahead and switch over just here real quick. For those of you watching in the future, the effect will be seamless. I'll see you all over there. All right, we are joined here by Reese Bees. How are you doing today?
I'm alright. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Ready to talk shop about the trickery domain cleric?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Now, next up we have the trickery domain.
I love the trickery domain. This is one of the best.
This is
I love
cute.
the subclass. I love the theme of it, and this is. I mean, the spell list was always fantastic for the trickery domain, but now the functionality of like the keystone abilities are really, really good.
And the trickery domain, in many ways, is the foil to the light domain. Many of the subclass quartets in the book are often actually two duos.
Yeah.
And in the cleric, the trickery domain, which is all about illusion.
I like
and
this. I like
sort of
this because people would be like,
pranks
"Oh, light,
and
shadow
being
cleric
the
or
trickster.
something."
Yeah.
Right?
Is the counter
But here's just
to
light and silly.
the light of revelation,
Yeah.
seeing everything
I
as
like
it really
I like this
is.
actually.
And then similarly, the life domain cleric has its foil in this class in the form of the War Domain Cleric. One being all
Oh my gosh, I
about
got scared. I was like,
restoring
wartime already.
vitality to people, and the other about destroying things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the Cleric.
I like this.
we
Instead of
have
life
these-
and like
this
grave
fun
domain, it's life and
axis
war domain.
going on with
I can
these
get with
four
it.
subclasses. Now,
Oh,
the
this is
trigger
nice. That's a nice
domain, as
looking
you
spiritual
said,
weapon, I assume.
got some
Yeah.
really nice updates. And it starts right away in Blessing of the Trickster.
Let me pause this real quick. Future people, I'll see you all in just a bit.
Ah.
Let's get back to business. Here we go.
Now the cleric can actually use on themselves, which they used to not be able to. And
Wait, which
it
spell?
used to last.
Oh, here, let's
the
rewind it.
domain, as you said, got some really nice updates. And it starts right away in Blessing of the Trickster, which now
Blessing of the Trickster.
cleric can actually use on themselves, which they used to not be able to. And it used to last just for an hour, but now it lasts until
Next
the
long
end of your
rest?
next long rest.
Oh, the end of your next long rest.
Damn.
Which is a really nice way to ensure that people can use this for maybe extended infiltrations.
Yeah.
Particularly if
those
the
extended
cleric uses it on somebody
Alright.
else. And, you know, it wouldn't
forget what
be
it does. I
around
think
to,
it's-
in the past, refresh it.
Here,
It's either like boost your stealth or like your stealth rolls or something else. Because Jester definitely used it a lot in
Mhm.
Critical Role. And I never realized that she never used it on herself.
All right, let me check Wikidot then.
Okay.
So traditionally, the Blessing of the Trickster, you can use your action to touch a willing creature other than yourself to give it advantage on stealth checks. Lasts for an hour or until you use this feature again.
Okay. Makes sense. But yeah, the fact that you couldn't use it on yourself. Now you can though.
Yeah. And it lasts longer than an hour. Oh my gosh, you're just never going to be...
Yeah, for real.
After it wore off after an hour.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
So invoke duplicity, which is of course, the signature ability of this subclass, got improved in a number of ways, in both the base feature as well as in the improvements that come later at level 17. One is you can now summon up your illusory duplicate as a bonus action instead of an action,
Perfect.
and you do
Nice.
not have to
I like
concentrate
shifts in
on it
economy.
anymore.
Thank
You know, it does.
Yeah.
It is
Because
rough to
that
be
was so
full on
difficult,
bonus
yeah, yeah.
actions, but it's nice to
combination
not
before of
have
it
to
taking
do an
your
action for
entire
it.
action and you
Yeah.
having to concentrate on it meant you were in some ways being shut down in two ways. You were spending it a whole turn bringing it out, and then you couldn't at the same time have any of the clerics really nice concentration spells going simultaneously.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to address that when we revisited this subclass, so that the subclass felt like it was playing nice with the rest of the class,
Yeah.
and not shutting your own class
Yeah.
down.
Imagine losing a third of your
through
spells.
its
to
use.
And again, that
maintain-
is a lot of
Uh-huh.
the change in design is what you want to do during a turn happens so much faster.
Yes. In the higher level improved duplicity up at level 17, that used to create multiple duplicates. You now
Damn.
just have one duplicate. But what we've now done is that your duplicate now assists not just you, but also your allies when it comes to conferring advantage on attack rolls. And when the illusion vanishes, it now heals. You can have it heal
Ooh.
somebody next to it.
Oh,
We wanted,
Oh, I love that, actually.
again, this
yeah. The emphasis on the
illusion
cleric.
to be more
The healing.
cleric-y,
I like it. I like it.
so that it truly felt like you're not just a trickster, you are a trickster cleric. And so that's why we brought in more of this element of you being able to assist your team in addition to assisting yourself.
There's another really juicy add-on to this ability.
Yes, between level 3 and 17, there is now a brand new feature, and that is whenever you take the bonus action to create the illusion, you can teleport, swapping places with the illusion.
Oh my gosh.
And this not only gives you
Echo
some
Knight in
really
shambles.
fun mobility, but it makes it so that the tricksy cleric can mess with enemies even more, because if suddenly you're swapping positions,
Damn.
they think you're over there, but
Oh my
you're
gosh.
actually over here.
Maybe it's time to make
And
Dolce
then
a
on top
trickster
of it,
cleric.
we modified the domain spell list, and that's something we did in all of them to try to make the list of spells that you have from this subclass as thematic and as fun as possible.
Nice. All right, let's pull back real quick to look at the picture of the cleric again. Oh, okay. Well, I kind of, this is good enough. All right. So here are the more detailed changes, which I think I was technically supposed to talk about later, but I'll run them by you right here. Once again, Blessing the Trickster, you can use it on yourself now. Invoke Duplicity, you get it level 3, and then of course Blessing the Trickster is until the end of your next long rest, which is nice. Is a bonus action, no longer requires concentration, which is very nice given how many cleric spells, like they were saying, require concentration. And I don't know how often Jester used things like Mirror Image or Blink or Dispel Magic or Polymorph, but now Trickster domain clerics have access to invisibility, to Hypnotic Pattern, which is nice for the incapacitation aspect, non-detection, and confusion. All right. Any Trickster domain thoughts you'd like to muse about to share?
That makes sense, because the whole thing about a Trickster domain cleric is they kind of do things that are like playing pranks on people or sneaking around. So it makes sense. It definitely, the big change is being able to use Blessing of the Trickster on yourself, because it's weird to me that the cleric who is the trickster, like in personality, isn't able to cast that sort of thing on themselves.
Yeah.
They just have to like give it to someone else, and then they go do their like tricky ways for them. Now that I think about it, that change is really good.
Yes.
Because if you think about it in the previous sense, it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't be able to do that sort of magic on themselves when they would be the one going around doing
exactly
silly little
they
things.
should be doing it the
trying to
most
avoid
at
getting
this
caught.
point, especially if they've got, like you said, the personality to be a Trickster domain cleric. What you're telling me, all right, you go do these things for me. I'm just gonna sit here like a good little girl and not do anything bad.
Yeah. So that change is definitely good, and I think it makes sense for the personality of the type of character that would be that sort of class.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to. Honestly, I didn't go into this video expecting to be like, oh, maybe I should change my Eldritch Knight or Echo Knight fighter into a Trickery domain cleric instead, and now all my characters are just gonna be clerics at this point. All right. Any last words before? This is like what happened with the Raiders, but any last words before I call on the next participant from class?
There was another thing earlier that I wanted to comment on, but now I can't remember. I think it was about bonus action stuff.
Yes. Like now.
Oh, I think for me personally, in my experience, I've always had characters where like there's only like one or two things to do as a bonus action, and then it's like not worth doing it in the moment, so then I end up just not ever using my bonus action for anything interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm all for giving more options for bonus actions.
Nice.
Because, we've played together, you've been my DM. It's just always like, do you want to do anything for your bonus action? It's like, nope, I can't do anything. Or it's like, it doesn't really make sense to use this bonus action spell right now, so I won't use it.
Yes.
And it always just feels like I'm wasting half my turn.
Yes, right? You want to theoretically, optimally, and efficiently have use of your action and your bonus action. So to not use a bonus action, like you said, feels like waste of half your turn.
Yeah, and like on the flip side, like I have a monk character who, like certain melee characters use an extra attack for their bonus action.
Yeah.
While spellcasters are kind of limited and only able to use magic for the most part.
Yeah.
So I have a monk character that I can do like, her one attack or two attacks, depending on the level, for the first action, And then for the bonus action, I can either do one more attack or do flurry of blows and do 2 extra attacks. So I can do like 4 attacks in one turn. Meanwhile, my wizard can only do like one thing, even at higher levels.
Yes. And it does feel bad when, if that cantrip that admittedly would deal more damage at the higher levels does miss. It's like a
Yeah, that too.
single, kind of like the save or suck ability that is associated with cantrips as opposed to leveled spells. And like all the martial classes, they get multiple chances to connect, whereas the spellcasters kind of just get that one chance per turn.
Yeah.
It does remind me how excited I am, even though this is a cleric video, that the Eldritch Knight fighter essentially can weave cantrips into their attack string or even leveled spells into their attack string because, fighters get
True.
access to 2 or 3 or more
Yeah.
attacks. But this way they can, instead of just wasting their whole turn with a single cantrip like we've been talking about with the spellcasters, that they can maybe punch cantrip or like punch cantrip or punch leveled spell.
Would be nice.
Okay. Anything else from you before we take it back?
I do think being able at higher level 2, the like invoke duplicity makes it more beneficial for your team too, because then it kind of helps in like the cleric sense. Because I know watching Critical Role Campaign 2, there was always jokes later on about how Jester never had any healing spells because she just like would never use them because she was like barely a cleric. She was the trickster domain.
Yeah.
So
I'm
having
all for
that, when it disappears, that it heals someone, or that it also counts as a bonus like thing to what's it called, like flanking.
Kind of, yeah. Advantage to you and your allies within 5 feet of it. It feels like it's better than flanking, actually, because if I'm reading this correctly, the fact it grants advantage to you and your allies when you attack a creature within 5 feet of the illusion, it sounds like then this would apply even if you're not directly across from them, or if someone is attacking them with a ranged attack, which normally wouldn't get a bonus to flanking. It sounds better than flanking, but yes, I get what you mean.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of good upgrades for the trickery domain, which I've never played, but I watched a lot of Critical Role Campaign 2, and Jester was a trickster cleric.
Yeah, trickery domain is easily gonna like vie for Celestial Warlock as like, oh wait, no, I want to play that. Like, the classic DM or even the classic player struggle of, I actually don't mind if this character dies because I have like 7 more waiting in the wings to play. It sounds like 2024 is only going to exacerbate that issue for me.
All right, that's all I have to say.
All right, thanks for being here. Let's head over to the other side.
Lucky.
We have a new guest here, so let me put on the new name tag right over here. Welcome in. Would you like to introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself for the avid viewers here real quick?
Of course, I am the Lost Arts and not Reesby's, as the lower third had promptly changed from.
You saw nothing.
Yes, nothing. I am the Lost Arts. I do art, animation, voice stuff over on my own channels. But when it comes to this, I am a player alongside a War Domain Cleric, as well as a DM for said War Domain Cleric. And I have no personal experience playing the class, however, a lot of experience playing alongside it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sounds like you'll be just what we need for this next section. Thank you for being here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me go ahead and play this out.
They think you're over there, but you're actually over here.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, we modified the domain spell list, and that's something we did in all of them to try to make the list of spells that you have from this subclass as thematic and as fun as possible. So finally, we have the War Domain.
Yeah.
The War Domain has been improved across the board. One of
Oh my god, the art's always so good in this.
See that immediately.
I recommend the main book, if nothing else, for
Guided
that.
Strike.
True.
You can now, right from the start, use this to benefit other people. It used to be that you could only use it on yourself when you first got it, and this is for people who don't remember, this is the channel divinity where you can just give yourself a gigantic +10 to hit.
Yeah.
Oh.
And people have seen Omen Drawn do this many times in Acquisitions Incorporated. but you had to wait till a much higher level to be able to use it on other people.
Yeah.
Now you can use it on yourself or other people right away.
Oh, wow, okay.
And we did this similar to some of the changes we made in the trickery domain. We did this so that this would be more cleric-y right from the start. The whole cleric class is about interactions with other party members, because even if you're a cleric who isn't focusing on healing, clerics still have a number of abilities that otherwise buff their friends, and so we're always looking for ways to make sure that even when clerics might be leaning more in a sort of damage dealing direction, that there still is an interaction element when it comes to their buddies. Now, the advantage of doing this also means we free up a class feature slot where we can then put in something new. So that
And the
you're
new slot
not
is really
having
good.
an entire
I'm excited.
feature eaten up by now you can use this on your friends.
Yeah.
I will
So
say, if
there's
you want to pause that
Yeah.
there, it was a little bit indirectly nerfed, only in that the changes to inflict wounds changes it so that it no longer synergizes with the guided strike ability. Because previously, inflict wounds was a spell attack, a melee one, which the war cleric really wants to get into and deal at times. So this guided strike no longer interacts with inflict wounds, which has not only moved to a Constitution saving throw, but also has less damage.
Oh, interesting.
So there is a little bit. There's a lot of, generally speaking, overall, I would say the subclass has been buffed, but there is an indirect nerf in the way the class has been changed.
Hey, yes. The info.
Double advantage to us making a change like this. We also, in the War Priest ability, which you get at 3rd level along with Guided Strike and your domain spells, we have made it so that you can now make an unarmed strike with the bonus action attack, not just a weapon strike. This is actually something we've done in a number of places in the new player's handbook, where previous abilities that only worked with weapons now also work with unarmed strikes. We're doing this not only for the sake of multi-classing, but also because we know that people, regardless of what class they have, sometimes like the fantasy of playing an unarmed character. And so we wanted to support that.
And of course, this means that, as with the changes with the new unarmed strikes, means you can do a lot of things now as a bonus action to aid your further attacks. Because it doesn't say it has to be after an attack. You can just be whenever, as a bonus action, you can make that unarmed strike to set up something else later with the new changes to the unarmed strike.
Nice little combo situation going.
I've also made it so that you regain the uses of your War Priest ability when you complete a short or a long rest. So you're also going to be able to use this more often. At level 6 with the War God's Blessing, we reuse the old name, but in terms of functionality, it is brand new, because now we've made it so that you can burn Channel Divinity uses to cast Shield of Faith or Spiritual
Yes, I
Weapon.
saw this when we were on the other
We
tab.
decided we wanted to make the War Domain Cleric the type of cleric who has the easiest time casting two of the most iconic low-level war-themed cleric spells, Shield of Faith and
This is
Spiritual
huge in a couple ways. We'll go into in a minute.
Weapon.
But
One
excited.
defensive and the other one offensive. And so that means that the War Domain Cleric, more than any other cleric, will be able to shield their allies or bring out that spectral weapon to bash foes easier than any other kind of cleric.
This is a nasty spell list too. Steal, Wind, Strike. Is
yeah, well, let's go into the War God's Blessing now then.
Still with
Because it looks like they're moving on.
Yes.
So the reason why this is huge, not only are you using your Channel Divinity to then cast these, you're doing so without a spell slot. And in the new 2024 rules, that means you can cast other spells in addition. Meaning if you need to use Cure Wounds while throwing up a spiritual weapon, you can do that.
Oh my gosh.
So
that really resonates with me. Oh my god.
One other thing as well is that Spiritual Weapon did get a bit of a nerf in that it requires concentration for all other clerics. However, the War God's
Oh.
Blessing in this case, if you cast it in this way, it does not require concentration. So, unlike every other cleric, the War Domain basically gets to use the old Spiritual Weapon, albeit with only the 1 minute timer. But most combats shouldn't last more than that.
That is very true. I was confused at the wording here because I was thinking, the common misconception is that spiritual weapon requires concentration, operating off 2014 rules. That's very interesting how it's kind of been relegated, like that original format has now been relegated to the War Domain Cleric.
Yes, it's become their sort of specialty. They can just do spiritual weapon, bam, 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 whereas the other clerics now will have to concentrate on that. You could say that their god is fighting alongside them as they are.
Oh, wait, that's so cute.
War inclined.
I really like that. Okay.
Spell list has been revised in ways that are really exciting. So the Steel Wind Strike this is a great example of how
oh my gosh,
all the domain lists and other
make a war
subclasses
class.
have benefited from the expanded
It's Craze
spell
that has it.
chapter. Steel Wind
one of the
Strike
best
wasn't in
ranger
the
spells.
2014
Right?
Player's Handbook.
Very
But when we made the
tempting
decision
offer for a
to
bard magical
have
secrets
this
target.
really spicy ranger spell appear in this book, I thought, oh, this is perfect for the War Domain Cleric.
Kind of feel bad
as
for ranger,
well.
but
Before we
but-
move
Yeah,
on to
although
the
funnily
apps,
enough,
yeah.
they actually did remove a paladin spell that was on the War Domain, which was, of course, Divine Favor, which had recently got changed to, I believe, no longer requiring concentration. So they kind of took that away from the low-level War Cleric, but honestly, Steel Wind Strike is such a good spell. It's a pretty nice replacement for Flame Strike, which some things can resist the fire damage of, and also you can potentially hit your allies. Whereas Steel Wind Strike, you can go into the fray and just have this like field of everyone falling around you falling down because it's a lot of damage.
I mean, it's such a fun spell, also flavorfully, just like aesthetically.
Oh yeah, I've used it. It's such an anime move. I've used it for my my sorcerer who has it from her subclass, and it is you're basically an anime character going like, "You're already dead," and just you teleport behind them and they all fall. It's great.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And since you bring up Flame Strike as well, the if I'm remembering correctly, Radiant and Fire damage. The double elements gives it the higher likelihood that the enemies will resist the particular kind of damage. So,
Well, yes, I mean, not many things, unless you're fighting something particularly divine, is going to be resisting that radiant damage. So generally speaking, that's not going to be as much a problem. It's the fire damage, which many things resist.
man, imagine if it was Flame Strike, but it was half fire, half poison.
That's just fall over and be like, all right, fine, I get it. I do 4 damage. All right, I get it.
To mention that if the War Cleric uses their Channel Divinity to cast Shield of Faith or Spiritual Weapon, it doesn't require concentration.
Oh, nice.
And if you cast it, again, using your Channel Divinity rather than a spell slot. So extra spicy.
Yeah.
Finally, Avatar of Battle even has been tweaked in that before you got resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, but only those damage types when dealt by non-magical weapons. We've removed that non-magical weapon part so that now you just simply gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage.
Which of course means you can jump off a cliff and have resistance to it.
Oh, all right. I'm very excited.
So you're going full on with that barbarian aspect.
Nice.
New version of the War Cleric, more than ever before, will be able to, be this priest character who is throwing down in the middle of battle.
Very nice. All right, let me rewind a bit so we can get that picture going. And then let me jump back over here to the other things that they mention in the more detailed portion for War Domain Cleric, in case there's anything here you'd like to make a comment about.
Sure.
Yeah, pretty much everything they talked about here. The unarmed strike with a bonus action. Flame Strike's gone. Stone Skin is gone in favor of Fire
I think
Shield.
honestly, one of the biggest things is that this short rest ability to do those multiple extra attacks, because it doesn't have just an extra attack. Like a lot of sort of these Gish type subclasses might just grant you extra attack. The cleric doesn't, because you are a full spellcaster. I think they're holding back on the full, especially because you have armor, on the full just giving you extra attack. But by giving you that short rest, it will feel more like you're able to dish that out at a much more reasonable rate, rather than holding it back like on the big fight. Like, I don't want to really use it.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's very great for people like me who also want to, save it. It's like, oh, well, is this really the encounter? I want to pop my only use of this till the next long rest.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So this is a nice way to sort of give you that reassurance that you'll probably be able to at least rest a little bit and get that back on that short rest. If you can find even just a small area, or if someone has tiny hut, you can just have an assured sort of way to get that back.
Ah, nice. Indirect, I don't want to say like an indirect buff to Lehman's tiny hut, but it...
Well, that's everything. Everything is good on a short rest if you have those abilities. I mean, yeah, tiny hut's always been a good spell for that.
I'm really excited personally about the addition of Guiding Bolt, and Spiritual Weapon are some of my favorite spells to be popping. I actually have I have like 3 sets of 4d6s that are metallic that is specifically perfect for Guiding Bolt, at least at a normal casting. So, oh my gosh, I went into you heard me earlier. I want to make a Trickery Domain Cleric ASAP, but now I'm about to make my first War Domain Cleric at this rate.
This might help you out. One thing that's not really being talked about here is the fact that Magic Weapon has no concentration. So that's also on your list that will always be on. So if you ever need to just grab I need to bonk something real bad, the ghost is right here. Well, you have that always prepared. You can always Magic Weapon, and you don't need to worry about concentration while doing so as a bonus action.
Okay, that does make me feel better about like pretty much all the clerics then at that rate.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I would say overall the work, again, there is the indirect nerf, because there is inflict wounds is such a big like F you button in the middle of combat. I'm just gonna get in there, pump a bunch of spell slots into inflict wounds, and then use guided strike to ensure it hits. So you can definitely end a lot of encounters by doing that. Now, unfortunately, you do still have guiding bolt, which is nice, but if you're in the middle of like melee combat, that's gonna have disadvantage, and that doesn't feel as good for some people.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, overall, I would say big buffs all around.
Yes. Oh, so excited. You know what? This is the next set of ads. Is there while I have you here, anything else you'd like to comment on a domain that we've already talked about? Pretty much any of the other class features, new or
I think in
old?
general, it's the cleric benefits a lot from the new. It's basic, but the fact that you have the improved healing abilities of a lot of the healing spells is just going to benefit every cleric subclass, as well as the fact that now you can do so to undead and constructs and such. So you don't have to worry. So say if you have an artificer companion, you can heal their constructs as well.
Yes, I do remember them talking about in the video, a lot of people end up either adopting one or becoming one of the undead or construct themselves.
Yep. So it's just one of those things where it's overall, I think the class feels a lot better. And I know you were saying you weren't so sure about having to choose between like melee or more classic sort of cleric builds. I think you had mentioned that. You said you weren't sure about the sort of dividing the two. Was that correct? I came in later in the stream.
Oh,
so
okay.
I want to make sure I'm accurately representing.
I think I might have been talking about, for example, the level 17 class feature for the Trickery Domain Cleric, how its illusion, it kind of sounds like it's flanking, but it sounds like it might be better than flanking because it might also apply to ranged attacks as opposed to flanking, which doesn't apply to the ranged attacks based on the wording.
Maybe I was thinking of something else. But I do personally like that you can have a more thaumaturge type cleric where you just rely on your sort of it's more like you are just the person who's been in the temple all your life. You're not really into using weapons and stuff, and you can have more person of the cloth, quite literally, because you're not having those proficiencies. But you're more an expert on those sort of knowledge based stuff because I've seen a lot of clerics who just not good at religion. Because it's an intelligence. It doesn't matter if you have proficiency. If your intelligence, your dump stop, like your artificer is way better at saying stuff about religion.
Actually, it does remind me. I think it might have been specifically I had mentioned perhaps that the Tempest Cleric does give you proficiency in heavy armor, so it kind of feels like it's kind of leaning you in that direction. Whereas I would have wanted mine to be more of that thaumaturge.
Mm-hmm. So at least you can select early on. You can select a little bit more of a of that path, which is nice. But yeah, overall, I would just say that it's a class I'm now looking forward to possibly playing someday. Cause it's always been a fun-ish one, but I've been like, there are a couple things here and there I wasn't super. I mean, not that I wasn't super keen on it. Just there's some pain points. But I'm like, now healing is better. You can feel like you're a healer if you want to go in that route. It's always been kind of a joke that you should just your best healing is making sure the enemy is down faster.
Exactly.
That's the classic line. And this way it kind of combats that a little bit.
Yes, I really appreciate that feeling because that's definitely a line that I perpetuate a lot. And I do sometimes feel torn when this first level spell slot or second level or just pretty much any spell slot, like, what's going to be more impactful? Me kind of shoring them up a little bit or ending combat a round or half a round earlier?
It probably still is that being true, but at least with certain things like you're being able to cast spells that you have access to without spell slots can free up the ability to possibly heal on your sort of off not spell slot turns or something. So it frees up your ability to heal a little bit more. Of course, you could just then cast another damaging spell. That's a whole other discussion. But thank you very much for having me on today.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Again, with you too, input that I would not have been able to make at all is here, and I appreciate it a lot. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Happy to help.
All right, folks, let's just go over real quick what we had talked about. Again, level 1, and you get Divine Order as a Cleric, which I'm very excited about because, most of my Clerics I do prefer to be more of a Thaumaturge. And like I was discussing with Lost earlier, felt very counterintuitive to have the Artificer be better at religion checks than the Cleric. The Divine Spark I'm very excited about here. They provide more detail on how the healing works and how it scales up. Very nice. Once again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I appreciate the incapacitated condition for Turn Undead, just to make it easier for, again, as a supportive role for the rest of your party and yourself to kind of let the dominoes fall after successful, powerful use of your class feature Channel Divinity. I just like but sometimes there just is an X condition, and that's what they've really tried to do with the changes to Turn Undead, even to the Divine Intervention down the line. Talked about the Trickery domain changes with Reese. I talked about the War domain changes with Lost. I myself, as a Light domain enthusiast, really appreciate the ability to use Warding Flare in its former improvised form right from the start. Cover it another time if you like. The energy from the cast in that video is such. Oh, maybe we will watch the magic item one. Corona of Light imposes disadvantage against your use of Radiance of the. Oh my gosh! I said I wanted to make a Trickery domain cleric. I said I wanted to make a War domain cleric. Oh my gosh! And you can grant the temporary hit points to the target of the trigger attack. Once again, I feel like I gotta see what. Obviously, Twilight cleric domain isn't part of this debut 2024 cleric subclass situation. But man, oh man, the temp health from the light domain and from, what was the other thing? There was something else that granted a temp health, and I'm forgetting what it was other than Warding Flare. But there's just some great changes. Oh, Max, it is good to see you. Thank you for the hydrate. Let me hydrate right now. Those of you watching in the future, feel free to hydrate as well. I've been talking a lot about cleric. Here we go. Yes, I appreciate your support, Max. Thank you for being here. I believe, Max, you also have some... Don't you also have... You have the ability in your channel to roll, if I'm remembering correctly, or is it emotes, or both? All right, let me drink some of this water. Twilight Domain is so good it didn't need an update. Very true. In my Curse of Strahd group, this one is not one that I record. They fought something in Kresk in Curse of Strahd that they were underleveled for. And they essentially, I don't want to say trivialized exactly, but I'm going to use that term here. They trivialized the encounter because of the temp health from the aura from the Twilight Cleric. They were able to withstand many and a crazed attack from this creature. My mutual here, Max, a 20 gets a yippee. Yippee! And a 1 gets you silence for 1 minute. Incredible. That's some fun stuff over there. I really love that. You know, as I was explaining to everyone earlier about my model, I just really, I want this to be able to change colors based on roles. And, you know, that's evident in, well, let me pause this recording here. Those of you in the future, let me pause here right this. All right, I've used the powers. It's time to return us to our normal journey through the time stream. Yeah, it would be nice if the die on my, below my neck could change colors just like on that screen. I appreciate the changes to Seer Undead, kind of like what they mentioned in the video again. Sometimes X condition. And the thing is, it does suck to go against something with a high, I said combat challenge rating that it Turn Undead is useless against. It keeps the ability for Turn Undead to be useful against and to trivialize encounters with the weaker undead, but it still has some use case against the more powerful undead that you go against. Blessed Strikes, Divine Intervention. Again, sometimes X condition will occur. I appreciate the ability to just choose a cleric spell of level 5 or lower. A little sad about doesn't require a reaction to cast, but I imagine that there were some of the reaction spells that they didn't want to give you the ability to divinely intervene with by your deity. I just really wish I could have just divinely intervened, absorb elements into my Tempest Cleric, but a story for another day. Aqua moment from Konosuba. Seer Undead! Seer Undead! Seer Undead! That speaks wonders to me as someone who actually cosplayed Kazuma once. Or not once, but like multiple times. Epic Boon, very excited about their inclusion in 5.24, as Lost pointed out earlier this stream. And of course, Wish. All right, yes, I'm very excited about how this turned out. Let me go ahead and wrap up this video with just more gushing about some of my clerics. Actually, let me pause this real quick. Okay, actually, hold on. Our guest assets aren't here, so let me just remove the name tag and the name. Okay. Let me get this going over here. What was I gonna show? Oh yeah, so first here we have, now this is my Tempest Cleric. This here is Solstice. Very, very excited about this piece in particular. I think it's so good. Honestly, let me link this to you all again because I feel like this piece needs more love. So if any of you want to check that out, gorgeous Slay Queen. Yeah, you can. She's actually wearing in the Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign. I think there's I forget, scale mail. Or there's this one specifically involves the water. I don't remember what this magic item is, but like her original design that I'll show you over here, actually, her original design doesn't have this. Her original design has, it's not visible on the screen. Hold on, where are you? I need a monitor. Well, this is unfortunate. I guess I'll just open this up as an image. This is a little unfortunate, but we have image. Ooh, I know. We'll do image slideshow. Oh, I say hold off on another time for magic items so you can do a Bastion magic item combo since both are player-focused aspects of the new Dungeon Master Guide. All right, thank you. Thank you for the heads up. I will do so. So we'll get an image slideshow going here. Let me change time between slides to, we'll do 4,000 milliseconds. Let me add these image files over here. Thank you all for your patience real quick. I should have paused for the people in the future, but oh well. That was then and this is now. Let me get some of the solstice pictures in here. Okay, so this is solstice. Remember what I said about the electricity starting from her hand and moving up her arm. What is this? To 4 seconds? There's a little chibi version of her, very cute. Well, this isn't her new outfit though. When she became a storm sorcerer instead. That's because of one of her companions. Oh yeah, so this is her new storm sorcerer outfit. A long story short, her god ditched her for reasons we're not gonna get into. You see, this armor right here is the one that's like, it's that's what she gave up in order to equip the armor that she sees in the picture. Yeah, because you can see it's got the silver there. Pay no attention to the bottom part of it and how it's impractical. So it's this one. You can see the similarities between this one and the commission picture. All right, let me put this away for now. Do I have anything else of her? It's another one of her. All right, and then I showed you all already my Stars Druid / Light Cleric. She doesn't have it visible here, but she normally has something on her wrist that she uses warding. That's how she would use Warding Flare. It would be a wristband on her wrist that would like shine, and then that's how she would use Warding Flare. But it's trickier to get that in the commissions. These are so cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Actually, let me get a slideshow going for Adastria specifically now, because I've already gotten the one for I really like this one. So we'll set this again to 4 seconds. Let me get these image files. We're going to go to Adastria. Adastria I'm very excited about because... So there's the picture you see there. And let me get some of these and this one. So this is the one that you saw earlier on the tab that I showed you. This artist doesn't go, oh, you can see the thing on her wrist. You see this wrist thing right there? That's what she casts Warding Flare from. She's got the glasses again, so she can read that spicy fanfic. I really adore these pictures. The artist doesn't draw in this style anymore, but these are like some of my favorite pictures of her. She looks super smug in this one. I love her and her hair, and she's always got to have the hat, which is why you can see it on those other tabs that I'll show you in a bit. Puffing her cheeks out here. This one, she's got the daggers for the times, like the time when her god died and she didn't have access to her cleric powers anymore. This is one by Banny Biscuits that I really like. And then this one you've seen already. So let me put this one away for now. Honestly, this iteration of her, I'm very excited, but that campaign has been on hiatus for a while. So yeah, I appreciate you all letting me gush about my clerics for a bit. I have another light cleric that I don't speak about because, well, I'll talk about this after this recording. But yeah, I appreciate those of you watching in the future. I feel that. Yes, thank you for feeling how I feel. My sorcerer I haven't played for months. Yeah, it's been quite a few years since Adastria has last hit the stage. A story for another time, and by another time I mean a few minutes from now after I finish this recording. So those of you watching in the future, I hope you all have a good afternoon, good night, good morning, wherever you are. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.